me a couple weeks ago to speak, and I kind of hemorrhaged around. Susan couldn't do it because she had volleyball, and so then I thought, well, Sandy and I were going to talk to the kids about the faith of a mustard seed, and I thought, oh, I probably should say yes. So I did. And then I thought, well, that's just what I'll talk about too, okay? The faith of a mustard seed, since we were going to talk to the kids about that. So I'm going to talk about both the daycare, the spice, and I guess the spice that grows into the plant. If you look at the dictionary, faith can be defined as complete trust or confidence in someone or something. And in Hebrews 11:1, Paul writes that now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And I realized I should have worn my black shirt instead today, but some of you did. Faith, live by faith, not by sight. St. Augustine described it as faith is to believe what we do not see, and the reward of faith is to see what we believe. Sometimes I think we get so hung up on this idea of faith and we think, oh, I don't have enough faith to do anything to help. But Jesus reminded his disciples that they only needed faith as large as a mustard seed. I was going to give the kids a mustard seed too. They're pretty tiny. I didn't count how many were in this bag, but I bet that's close to 100. And it barely makes a dent in the bag. In Matthew 17:20, Jesus told his disciples, because of your unbelief, for assuredly I say to you, if you have faith as a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will be moved. And that's the verse I know Kathy has claimed for mustard seed and the board over and over. And in Matthew 13:31-32, the parable of the mustard seed, Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed, which a farmer took and sowed in his field, which indeed is the least of all the seeds. But when it grows, it is greater than the herbs, it becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air come and nest in its branches. And I think that tiny mustard seed can teach us some valuable lessons. The first one, I think, is to start small. Again, our faith does not have to be as huge as a mountain to make a difference. You don't have to complete some huge project. You could volunteer at the rescue mission or go to Fairhope and sort clothes. That doesn't take much of your time, doesn't take much of your effort, but you know what? It provides a good witness of your faith. Those can have huge impacts on the people that we're helping. Of course, perfect example of starting small is our daycare. Mustard Seed Daycare. In 2006, the outreach committee of this church met and discussed the idea, what to do to help our community. And it was brought up that people had to go to Hookston or Danville for a daycare. And after some discussion, the committee brought it forth to the congregation, and this congregation voted to go ahead and go for it. And in 2007, February, the doors opened. There were only 3 children and 2 members of the staff. Can't start much smaller than that, right? But they didn't stay there, of course, just as we don't have to stay. Now, of course, there are over 80 students enrolled various times and a staff of 20 or more, at least 20. So I didn't do the math, but that's a very, very large increase, right? We can also think about Jesus' ministry. He started with just 12 disciples. Now, in the world, there are 2.18 billion Christians. Me with a billion. Started from 12. Again, start small. We can grow from there. All we have to do is trust God and his promises and believe in Jesus. The second lesson I think that we can learn is to dig deep. A mustard seed's tap roots go from 1 to 3 feet down into the ground. And in drought conditions, they can go down as far as 5 feet. So think about how we can dig deep. Of course, first way is pick up your Bible and read it. You don't have to look very far to find examples of people who dug deep in their faith, right? Who maybe started small, didn't want to do it, but listened to God and did. You know, you'll read about Moses, you'll read about David, that little boy who slew that, you know, big giant. Elizabeth and you know, the mother of John the Baptist, Mary and Joseph, of course. Chris just talked about Joseph on Father's Day, and on and on and on. All those people, though, started, you know, with that little bit, and then they said, okay, and they let God take over, and that's all we have to do. Of course, another way is to attend Bible study. If you've attended Pastor Chris's Bible study, you know he makes you dig deep and deep and deeper. We go all over that Bible. And Denise and I have had the conversation. This is one of the first we go home and we like do homework. You look up things because he makes you think, right? That's definitely a way to dig deep. An hour of your time once a week. And then whatever time you know, put in at home looking up things. And then, of course, you know, we have dug deep in our support of mustard seed, and I'm happy to see many bottles on the tables, so we'll, you know, be getting even more support that way. And the third and final lesson I'd like us to consider is to spread out. You know, that mustard seed, tiny little thing is planted, it spreads out, its branches become so large that birds can nest in them. That story is told in Mark 4, 30 and 32, and Luke 13. As I read earlier, it's Matthew, Mark, and Luke all share the parable and the stories of the mustard seed. Our daycare certainly has spread out. We started in a couple rooms in what I still call the old high school building. It's the K through 8 building now, but we started, I remember going into that old home ec room and cleaning and cleaning and cleaning and making space for those 3 kids and those 2 staff members to get us started. Now we own a whole building and are looking for room, turning closets into usable space even. So again, it might seem hard for us to spread out our faith, but it doesn't take much effort. Invite someone to church. Invite someone to banquet. Invite someone to Bible study. Say, you know, just get them to try it once. Or, if you're not good face to face, send a card or 2 or 3 to someone on the prayer list. Send a card to your neighbor. You know, that doesn't take much. But we never know how far that is going to go. Remember, we're called to make disciples of the world, okay? And you're part of that group of 2.18 billion. So we're definitely not alone. I'd like to end with a little story from Chicken Soup for the Christian Soul. There was a town and they'd been having a drought for many weeks and the crops were starting to wither and die. So the ministers of the churches of the town said, let's have a prayer service. And they got together and said, we'll invite everybody in town to come to the town square and we'll pray for rain. And people were asked to bring objects that symbolize their faith. Okay? So at noon, just about everyone was there and the prayer service began and everyone prayed for about an hour. And then just as the hour ended, a light rain began to fall. The people held their objects up high and were cheering and applauding and, you know, of course, happy for the rain. But one of those faith objects that were brought for inspiration stood out. There in the middle of the crowd stood a 9-year-old child with an umbrella. Okay? So let's just think about how different Rossville would be if we hadn't decided to start small and dig deep and spread out and have our daycare. Just think how different our world would be if Jesus hadn't done that. So, hopefully you'll decide to be like that child with the umbrella and open up your umbrella, and hopefully you will choose to start small if that's where you are and to dig deep and to spread out. Thank you.